Venezuela's presidential candidate signed an agreement to recognize the results of the July 28th elections. Mexican President-elect Claudia Sheinbaum announced the first 6 members of her cabinet. Israeli citizens demonstrate in front of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's residence, demanding elections and swap deal with Hamas. Hello, welcome to From the South. I am Irma Shelton from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Stay with us. On Thursday, presidential candidates of Venezuela signed an agreement to recognize the results of the July 28th elections. In this sense, 8 of the 10 candidates committed themselves to accept and respect the results of the presidential elections of July 28th in order to maintain peace and a healthy national coexistence. Precisely, the agreement is the result of a proposal made by the president and a candidate, Nicolás Maduro. In this context, the president of the National Electoral Council, Elvis Amoroso, reaffirmed the respect of the electoral guarantees established in the Barbados and Caracas agreements. It should be emphasized that the extreme right candidates Edmundo González and candidate Enrique Marquez were not signatories to the agreement. In this regard, the president and candidate Nicolás Maduro affirmed that the agreement is an anti-violence pact.
No to violence. No to the guarimba. This signature is an anti-guarimba signature because there are people who like to use the electoral processes to prepare for violence, to shout fraud. And today, with this signature, we have said we do not want violence. Respect for the referee. If the referee summons you, you are obliged, as a candidate, to go to listen to the referee.
We continue in Venezuela, where the International Seminar on Economy Development 2024 began in Caracas. The event brings together for 2 days experts and global leaders to address the complexity of economic growth in a multipolar context. The seminar addresses the complexities of global economic growth and its resistance in the face of the sanctions imposed by the United States administration. The Executive Vice President Delcy Rodriguez pointed out that the unity of the Venezuelan people in the face of the blockade is key for economic growth in view of the exclusion of some nations of the world from the international financial system. On Thursday, the government of Argentina responded to the remarks made on Tuesday by Volker Turk, the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, in relation to the government policy led by Javier Milei. Carlos Foradori, Argentina's permanent representative to the United Nations agencies based in Geneva, in response to these remarks, assured that the report presented by Turk did not contain any mention or concern for the 40% of poor people left by the previous government. Foradori also accused Turk of having wanted to intervene last January in the debate of a law that was being discussed in the Congress and that, despite his concerns, received general approval in the National Congress with an opposition majority.
I'm surprised that the High Commissioner is so concerned about Argentina pretending to intervene last January in the debate of a law that was being discussed in the Congress, which, in spite of your concern, received the approval in general of the National Congress with an opposition majority. Trust in us a little more. You should know that your report cites, wrongly by the way, a confidential instruction from the Argentine Chancellery, something unprecedented in any previous report and which violates national law. The government fully guarantees peaceful assembly and freedom of expression, but some others not so much. Note that in a recent demonstration, the protesters burned several vehicles, including a mobile of the important provincial radio station. I am fascinated by the brilliant imbalance demonstrated at the time of judging.
Now let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and more. Other stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. We go to Mexico, where President-elect Claudia Sheinbaum announced the first 6 members of her cabinet. The announcement was made during a press conference held at the Interactive Economy Museum, where Sheinbaum said the new cabinet will have a gender parity. The 6 appointed members so far are Rosaura Ruiz Gutierrez, Marcelo Ebrard, Juan Ramón de la Fuente Ramírez, Alicia Bárcena Ibarra, Julio Verdeguer Sacristán, and Ernestina Godoy. The future head of state revealed that next Thursday she will officially present the remaining 6 members of her administration.
We are clear that there is a mandate from the people of Mexico, and that we will not betray that mandate. I am very proud and happy that those who are here today have accepted to be part of our team. They are first quality men and women with experience who will also help us a lot to achieve our objectives in the next 6 years.
The Brazilian Federal Police carried out the 28th phase of the Lesa Patria operation against those suspected of financing and encouraging the coup conspiracy of January 8 of 2023. The agents carried out on Thursday 15 search and seizure warrants and 12 personal searches in Goiás, Mato Grosso do Sul, and Santa Catarina. Among the operations of this phase, the court ordered the freezing of goods, assets, and security of the people under investigation. The Lesa Patria operation is investigating the crimes of violent abolition of the democratic rule of law, coup d'etat, qualified damage, association to commit a crime, incitement to crime, destruction and deterioration or rendering useless of especially protected property. In this context, the Brazilian Foreign Ministry received a report from the government of Argentina where the list of at least 62 fugitives under investigation for the attempt coup d'etat in January 2023. The document answers the request made by the Brazilian government to help in the search of 143 fugitives. In the United States, the government imposed sanctions on at least 8 leaders of the Mexican cartel, the New Michoacana family, for trafficking fentanyl, cocaine, and methamphetamine in United States territory, according to Janet Yellen, head of the Department of the Treasury. The ringleaders were included in the list of so-called specially designated binationals by the Treasury Department's Office of Foreign Exchange Control. According to the institution, the cartel is also involved in migrants trafficking from Mexico to the United States and affirms that the New Michoacana family is one of the most powerful and violent cartels in Mexico, and that it has become a priority for the Mexican government in the last years. Thousands of Israeli citizens held a demonstration on Thursday in front of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's residence to demand elections and an exchange agreement with the Gaza resistance. There was also mass rallies at other points where blockades of the main highways, strikes, and General 1 took place. Signs demanding elections and referencing to Netanyahu as a culprit could also be read. The police arrested at least 5 demonstrators who were blocking the main highway into Tel Aviv. Authorities said the detainees are accused of setting fire to several tires and blocking many routes in the northern occupied territories. On Thursday, the Palestinian resistance group Hamas reported on the detention of Palestinian Parliament President Aziz Dueik by the Israeli army. Dueik was arrested during an Israel Defense Forces operation in the West Bank region of Hebron. The speakers of parliament had been released along with other Palestinian politicians only 3 days earlier. According to Wafa, in addition to Dueik, 2 other West Bank civilians were also arrested during the raid. In a statement, Hamas called on international organizations to release not only Dueik, but all the prisoners and disappear in the West Bank and Gaza Strip. We continue in the Middle East, where the Ministry of Health of the Gaza Strip confirmed on Thursday the updated death toll in the territory that already amounts to 37,431 and the number of injured to over 85,000 after the constant attacks perpetrated by the Israel for 8 months. The health agency warned in its daily report that the Israeli occupation committed 4 massacres against families in the Gaza Strip, which caused 35 deaths and 130 wounded to arrive at hospital in the last 24 hours. In addition, the health institution pointed out that 10,000 bodies are still under the rubble. In order to make progress in the search for those disappeared, the ministry requests information from the families of those victims in order to complete the death toll. On Wednesday, the Secretary of Iran High Council for Human Rights, Qasem Qaribabadi, rejected the exclusion of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps in the Canadian list of international terrorist organizations. Qaribabadi recalled Canada's dark history of mistreatment of indigenous peoples and its support for the anti-Iranian called Mujahideen al-Kalo, which was removed from the Canadian list of terrorist organizations by Ottawa authorities in 2012. The Secretary emphasized the importance of the IRGC in safeguarding the national security of the Persian nation and in the fight against terrorism in Western Asia. Iranian Foreign Minister Ali Bagheri Kani met on Thursday with the head of the political bureau of the Islamic Resistance Movement Hamas, Ismail Haniyeh, at Doha in Qatar. The Iranian Foreign Minister praised the heroic steadfastness of the resistance of the Palestinian people, point out that it is necessary to use all possibilities to make Israel pay the price of its attacks and crimes. The head of a political bureau of Hamas considered that Israeli army did not really achieve its goals after 9 months of aggression and genocide against the Palestinian people. He also confirmed the position of Hamas regarding to the proposed project to stop the aggression on the Gaza Strip, assuring that they will support any mechanism that satisfies the Palestinian people. We have now a final survey coming up. But before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience, you can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with teleSUR. Final short break. Don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. In South Korea, the government announced that it would reconsider its position on supplying arms to Ukraine after Russia and North Korea signed a mutual assistance treaty in case either of them is attacked. The South Korean government condemned the agreement signed by Russia and North Korea and noted that any cooperation that directly or indirectly assists North Korea violates the Security Council resolutions. Seoul also warned that if Moscow harms South Korea's security, it will have negative impacts on their bilateral relations. In this regard, the South Korean executive informed that it will impose additional sanctions on 4 Russian ships, organizations, and individuals involved in the transfer of arms and oil between North Korea and Russia.
The government clearly highlights that any act that directly or indirectly helps North Korea to increase its military force is a violation of the UN Security Council resolution and will be sanctioned by the international community, especially Russia, which is a permanent member of the Security Council. Violating the resolution and threatening South Korea's national security by supporting North Korea will negatively affect South Korea-Russia relations.
In this regard, Russian President Vladimir Putin insists that South Korea has nothing to worry about regarding a mutual defense pact that he signed while on a state visit to Pyeongchang Tuesday. Speaking at the press conference at the end of another state visit to Vietnam, Putin also makes comparison between the siege of Leningrad by the Nazis and Finnish forces in the Second World War and modern-day sanctions on North Korea.
South Korea, the Republic of Korea, has nothing to worry about because our assistance in the military sphere, that is, with North Korea, in accordance with the treaty that we signed, arises only if aggression is carried out against one of the signatories of this document. As far as I know, the Republic of Korea is not planning aggression against the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, which means that there is no need to fear our cooperation.
Tropical storm Alberto caused heavy rainfall on Wednesday and early Thursday morning. It made landfall near the city of Tampico in Tamaulipas state to later degrade to a tropical depression. With maximum sustained winds of 55 kilometers per hour, Alberto still may cause heavy rains in Nuevo León, Tamaulipas, and other states such as Coahuila, Puebla, San Luis Potosí, and Veracruz, informed the National Weather Commission in a statement. 4 people died in the north of Mexico due to the effects of the tropical storm. Alberto is the first tropical cyclone of the 2024 season in Mexico. Meteorological authorities estimate that this year there could be between 35 and 41 such phenomena in both the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans. Mexico Ministry of Health reported Thursday that the number of people who died from the effects of heat increased by 30 since last week, bringing the total to 155 since the beginning of 2024. In its most recent weekly epidemiological surveillance report, the agency indicated that 259 cases of extreme natural temperatures were reported in addition to 30 fatal cases in the week of June 13-18. The health secretary detailed that 13 deaths were recorded in Veracruz, 5 in Yucatan, 5 in Oaxaca, and 5 in Tamaulipas, 2 in Baja California, 1 in Chihuahua, 1 in Guerrero, and 1 in Nayarit, 1 in Nuevo León, and 1 in Sonora. The Emergency Operations Centers of the Dominican Republic report on Thursday that 6 provinces remain under a green alert due to humid conditions that allow for an increase in downpours associated with the drought. The provinces continuing in green alert state are Monte Plata, La Vega, Santiago, San Pedro de Macorís, El Ceibo, and Hato Mayor. The authorities recommend to the population of these territories to refrain from crossing rivers, streams, and creeks with high volumes of water. Meanwhile, the National Meteorological Office of the Dominican Republic forecasts for tonight weather conditions dominated by humidity and instability brought by a drought located over the western part of Cuba. In Kenya, the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, confirmed on Thursday the deaths of 315 people, 188 injured, and 38 missing persons due to heavy rainfalls that have been hitting the country since March. An OCHA report with data from the National Disaster Operations Center state that more than 336,000 people, members of more than 61,000 families, have been affected by heavy rainfalls in the period between March 1st and June 18. And data from the Ministry of Education indicates that 35,000 students have not been able to assist to classes due to flooding and lack of school meals since classes resumed this past May 13. And we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I am Irma Shelton. Thank you for watching.